What if I want to make my game work on different size screens? Today we're going to talk about anchors. It's going to be pretty quick, but Unity does allow you to have different anchors to scale your UI for different size screens. This can be insanely frustrating, especially when you're programming on a high resolution widescreen and when you realize you run on your friend's laptop who does not have the same resolution, your game just does not work. So it's best that you prepare for that ahead of time, especially with the UI system. The camera and the gameplay itself is fairly robust against this, but the UI system can run into a lot of problems if you don't plan for this ahead of time. So for this video, we're just going to this is the same scene as we had last time. We're going to make a new scene, and we're going to talk about anchors. So no coding in this one, but we're just going to talk about anchors. We'll say yes, we'll save the scene. Now we have a new scene. Say we add just a default old school style menu. So we go up to Game Object, Create UI, Canvas. And we want this canvas to overlay the screen, so that's fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our panel. So we'll say UI panel. So we have our panel. And now I want to add some buttons. And I want the buttons on the left side of the screen, so I'll just keep them over here, kind of lined up. So I'm going to set these up. And what we're going to talk today is about anchors and how you set your UI to work with different screen resolutions. This one can be kind of frustrating if you're not aware of it. So notice that each component that I click has these little four little arrows, and I can move these. These are the anchors to the system. Now by default, they're all anchored at the center point. That means we're not worried about distance, we're not worried about scaling, it's just we're all going to be based on the center point, so it should scale to this center point. At first that seems like it'd be a decent solution and should solve all our problems. However, if we go ahead and run it, we'll see what happens. So this works, this works, this works. Now, if I change the aspect, 5:4, my buttons have disappeared. The aspect, they will not scale with the aspect. They will still be in the same relation as the center point, which is great, but they're not going to scale well. And they only work in fact, in this situation, the largest screen, which is the free aspect ratio. So this is a problem you're going to run into when you do menu design. So the next solution that comes to mind, so I'll stop this. We'll pick button 2, is I can scale this for an area. So okay, I'll scale it for the entire canvas. That way I want it to be, positioned relative to where it is, scaled for the entire size of the canvas. This will work a little better, but we'll see that when we run it, that we actually have the same problem. We have free aspect, and if we go to say 16 by 10, in this situation, it just doesn't even scale at all. If I go to scene, you can see that it scales, it actually collapsed on itself. That's why the red X is there. So this didn't work. Sometimes this works better, sometimes in this case it did not. So let's go back to game. I'll pause it, maybe do a little bit better here. Free aspect, there we go. So let's see if I can do a little bit better. We can move this, we'll just move this a little bit, oh no, not that one. Move this a little bit over here, and we'll select our anchor points, and we'll say, okay, not quite there. And again, we'll try to scale for the whole size. go ahead and run it. You see it's still not going to scale well because it shrinks so much that the button will actually collapse on itself. See, in here we can start seeing the button come up a little bit. We haven't quite got the whole button. At the widest screen resolution, I'm still having a problem. It should actually be working there, but anyway, you see that this is not a good solution. So we don't want to do this one as much because the same as you just noticed. We're going to have a similar problem. So the next solution you have is to actually anchor it relative to the location of the thing itself. So in this case, I'm going to I don't know if you can see these 4 little points. I'm going to put these 4 little points around the button itself, and this will anchor it to this location on the screen and at this scale. And you'll see that this works far better. Although not perfectly, but this is far better. So here's our free aspect. Go to 5.4. You'll see that the third button does in fact scale over and still in relatively the same spot. 4.3 still working. 3.2 still working. 16.10 still working. 16.9. We finally see the totally scaled button working, but you see the third button has still worked and scaled fairly well the entire time. So when you are designing for multiple resolutions and different screen sizes, which is vitally important for, say, mobile app development, remember that you can take your anchors and surround the button itself or the area on the screen in which you want the button to live, and this will be probably the best mechanism for having your UI scale with whatever resolution screen you're using.